Fjordur was the last map introduced to Ark Survival Evolved. It is a great map which has tons to do, with a mini-boss system leading into the 3 guardians leading into a final big boss. Now, this map, I'm going to be beating it within 100 days. So, yeah. Let's get on with the video. Day 1, I realized it had still given me some stuff that I had on Aberration, so I disposed of the loot. See, before this, I had already had like over 200 hours of gameplay on Fjordur, so I knew my way around the map. And my current plan was to teleport to the shipwrecks that I knew of. Things were going pretty alright till I got jumped by these terror birds. But even when I was regaining a bunch of stuff after I respawned, I still had a lingering problem. This map is pretty cold. Actually, no, I don't think this map is cold, because I'm from Illinois. This isn't cold, but apparently my character has the heat insulation of a Californian, so 44 degrees is absolutely freezing. So when it started turning night, I waited out the night in Asgard, which was pretty warm, but a very dangerous overall area. I found this little town I could spend the night in to stay safe. Beginning of day 2, and hey look, Raptor Claus is here. Fun fact, I actually got this playthrough done so fast that Raptor Claus appears every night. A little later into day 2, after the night had stopped, I went into the Aberration Cave to get some crystal. But a Ravager saw me and I got ripped in half. I made a new tribe, named it Bjornscorp, and I made a base location right next to Vanaland southwest because it was very easily accessible if it was right next to a teleport location, and the ground was relatively flat. I made some walls for my base, and that's about all the work I'll ever do on it. I have a habit of just making unfinished bases because I don't want to complete them. I went back to the Aberration Cave and got some more ruins from there to hopefully level up, because I got 5 extra levels after beating Rockwell. Day 3, and I tamed a moth shops. So, using him, I grinded up some narcotics, because I had some plans that I will not explain, because the haters will try to sabotage. Anyways, I found this 162 Pteranodon and knocked it out. So, really funny, the Pteranodon ended up dying because there's a lot of deadly stuff in this area. I found an even higher level 174 Pteranodon, which I decided to knock out. I also knocked out a 162 male to go with my 174 female. I teleported them back to base and began to breed them. I crafted up some sanding torches to hatch the egg, and I spent the rest of day 4 raising up the baby Pteranodon. I collected some ruins to heavily level the stamina on this thing. Day 5, I went down to the Wyvern Trench, because I had a plan to steal one. But then right after my game crashed, so I had to do it again. bam, after all of day 5 is spent raising the wyvern, day 6 it was finally ready to take out for a spin. I just got a few ruins so that I can go back in with a wyvern to get another egg. I also gave myself a skeletal Giganotosaurus chibi. And while looking for eggs off the bat, I found a 198 fire wyvern egg. And late into day 7, the wyvern finished raising. I went on an alpha killing spree, and that got me a lot of levels, because I managed to get up those 5 levels that I got from killing Rockwell. And I stole a bunch of Deinonychus eggs, which I managed to snag this 156, which I hatched and raised. Day 9, I just went on more of a killing spree on my wyvern, because, well, I didn't really have many supplies. I just liked going on a killing spree on my wyvern to get better loot from alphas. So I've also been trying to collect a lot of ruins, because once I get half the ruins, I get plus 5 max levels. I don't expect to get all 200 ruins though. I did get an Anki tame though, and I led him to an area with some metal so I can harvest some. And I kinda messed up here. I saw some raptors attacking my Deinonychus, and I used the fire breath, and turns out that kills my Deinonychus, like, instantly. I came to Compy and named him Campanford Jr. Now, if you've been watching these in chronological order, and if you remember Happened Extinction, you'll know I had a Compy named Campanford. He died on like day 40 something. And then I also managed to snag this Bronto, which would be very good for berry harvesting. And then I had a pretty crazy idea. So there's this area in the Badland Valley where you can get crops for free, and it's easy. So I gathered some, and I prepared to make some Lazarus chowder, which is part of extraordinary kibble, which I had Deinonychus eggs, which we use to make extraordinary kibble. That's right, I'm making extraordinary kibble on day 9. It's crazy. By day 10, the kibble had finished crafting. Now, the reason I was making this kibble was because I wanted to make a Rex army as early as possible, so I tranked out a 162 female. I also tried to tame an Angiosarchus, which did not go well for me. Not at all. After I failed to tame the Angiosarchus, I decided I'll go for a different new Fjordur creature, and I started extracting my blood. All of this was for a Desmodus, which, when I tried to go tame it, it went terribly wrong. On day 11, I went to a different cave and managed to get a few tamed with the blood packs, because they were all swamped together, so... But I managed to do it. I managed to actually get a high level 1 tamed and have it survive the swarm of Desmodus that came out of that cave, which I managed to tame a few of them. So, day 12, I explored places like Asgard on my Desmodus now that I could get a lot more ruins with it. And, while in Asgard, I found a 168 male Rex, which I had stuff to tame, and I wanted to tame it. So I had got the Rex out, and I still had some kibble left over, which I hoped would be enough. Just kidding, I checked out X, it was enough. So I now had a breeding pair of high-level Rexes. Oh yeah, and my Bronto got slaughtered by a Rex. I also explored the aberration part of the Dragon Cave, which that was a cool experience. It looks a lot like the Blue Zone. I had a pretty large motivation to explore the Mount Doom Caverns of Valheimer, so I checked, and the artifact wasn't there. On day 14, I headed into the Magmasaur cave to try to grab one. The best I found was this 120 egg, so I decided to take it. On day 14, I made a fabricator. At the end of day 14, I hatched my Magmasaur. I spent all of day 15 just raising up the Magmasaur. This flowed into day 16, which was mostly just also spent raising the Magmasaur. And finally, at the very end of day 16, I got the Magmasaur fully imprinted and almost fully raised. I waited for metal to smelt all of day 17, and then I crafted the Magmasaur saddle, which was very expensive. So after going on a metal run day 18, I began to try to smelt up the resources for an egg incubator. Later that day, while waiting, I checked for Giga or Karg spawns, except, weirdly, there was nothing there. End of day 18, I ran the Molten Caverns and managed to snag the Artifact of the Pack and the Artifact of the Clever. Day 19, I gathered a little bit of crystal on my Magmasaur. Day 19, I explored Vanaheim and found this 168 male Baryonyx, which that is a pretty nice Baryonyx, and I wanted to tame it. So while I was gone to go grab some prime fish meat, the Baryonyx disappeared. I have no idea what happened to it. At the end of day 19, I just kind of admired Vanaheim at night. It is a very beautiful location. Then I discovered these corpses in the Swamp Island, which give a bunch of organic polymer. On day 21, I made an industrial forge. I know, it's crazy. I got it done that fast. But I wasn't running the egg incubator, I was going with the industrial forge. Which, that industrial forge essentially sparked the industrial revolution in my base, because I started industrializing quickly. I made a fridge. Then I made an egg incubator, which I put 7 Rexes in. Then I made a chemistry bench on day 22. Day 22, I wanted to raise all of these Rexes up. And I brought my Magmasaur down to the coal mines to get some metal. Day 23 was just spent raising up the Rexes. Day 24, I came to level 64 Baryonyx. I spent most of the day just leveling up on my Rexes. Day 25, I begun grinding for a tech replicator, because I'm still using the same character that I used on Extinction, Crystal Isles, and Aberration. Later that day, I was out in the oil fields, taking off my another taking what was rightfully mine. That oil, that glorious oil. Proud to be American, hoorah! Anyways, I level up another Rex. Then, I level up another Rex. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of this from now on. Day 26, and I tamed up a gacha. I actually tamed up 2 gachas. You've been tricked once again, I actually tamed 3. Later that day, I just leveled another Rex. Early into day 27, I gathered up some more polymer. A little later in the day, I decided I was ready to fight Bela, the first mini-boss. Anyways, I hatched up a few more Rexes. And I went back to the coal mines to get some more metal. Day 28, I made this really good Dionicus style blueprint. Then, my Rexes also finished upgrading, so I had about 10 Rexes to level up. Yeah, I checked the Mount Doom caverns and the artifact still wasn't there. End of day 28, and I am starting to come really close to the Tetra locator. Anyways, I murdered Bela again. Anyways, at the very end of day 28, I also fought Hattie and Skull. Day 29, and I found a gift from Rapid Claws. So I've also now gotten to the point where I only need about 10 more element, which I can get 30 from a mini boss. So you wouldn't believe it, but I actually ended up killing Bela again for more element. So now I could craft a head replicator. Just the element I was getting from mini bosses wasn't enough, so I went to Valheimer to try to harvest some element shards from these crystals that look like red gems here. While I was there, I also got this 156 Melanosaur. Yeah, you wouldn't believe it, but I fought Bela again. Later into day 31, I leveled up my Melanosaur. Anyways, a little later into the day, I made up a greenhouse. Day 32, I made an industrial cooker. I also got a new Bronto knocked out because my old one had been dead for a while. Anyways, day 33, I got even more element shards. Anyways, a little later, I explored a really cool cave off the eastern coast of Valheimer. It's like a space cave, you can float around in it, and it looks so nice. Anyways, the Bronto tamed a little later, and also I'm getting pretty close to a full set attack. Now my tech's colored, black and blue. I think black looks really nice as a primary color in the tech, and then the light nice as a lot of things. Day 34, and I'm draining the coal mines of their natural resources again. Anyways, on day 34, I ran a cave known as the Bear Caverns. Day 35, I was getting ready to make some kibble up. Day 36, and I made up 9 extraordinary kibble. Also gathered up some condensed gas, because it was by far the easiest way to get gas balls in this map. So the reason I was doing this was because I wanted a rock drake, but then I realized, wait, why do I need a hazard suit? I have full tech. That protects against radiation. Then I found this 210 egg, stole it instantly, and got out of there cleanly on my Desmodus. On day 37, I made up a few gas masks for the swamp cave. And then I raised my rock drake into day 38. On my rock drake, I explored a cave called the Hidden Grotto, which is like an aberration cave, which has abermegalania, which never made it into aberration. At the end of day 38, I went into another cave. This one was the Labyrinth, which had traps everywhere that I had to do on foot as it was too small to fit anything else. Overall, a very fun cave. I would recommend it. So, a little later in day 39, now I'm running the swamp cave. I checked the Mount Doom caverns again, and still no artifact. Later that day, I tamed up a Basilosaurus. On day 40, I ran through the Mariana Caverns in the northwestern part of the map. It was an experience, to say the least. It's a very deadly cave. I felt my Basilosaur could take on some of the stuff, and he ended up getting way beaten up, so I had to pull him out for a little bit to kill him. Running through another artifact cave. This one's called Drangerheimer. And while in there, I managed to get my 100th rune, which gave me 5 extra max levels. Running through yet another artifact cave. This one is called the Forgotten Caverns. Terrible cave, I do not recommend, but you gotta go through it to get the artifact of the cunning. Anyways, I am on a roll today with the artifact caves because I'm running another one. This one I also hate, the Frozen Fortress. Most of it was just I just kind of sat there on my rock drake and used my Rexes to clear out the stuff there. But then one of my Rexes fell in the insta-kill pit and took 300,000 damage instantly and died. But I managed to get the artifact of the Skylord. Now I had another goal. I was on the lookout for a Yudi. I just kind of spent day 41, the rest of it, killing Alpha Megalodons because they give a lot of rune stones and a lot of Alpha XP. Anyways, the reason I was getting as many rune stones as I was because I was out of element, so I went to go fight Bela. Then I fought Hattie and Skull. So now that I had some element, I made a tech generator, and then over time I realized it doesn't drain any element when it's S+. Anyways, now that I got some more element, I went to the Ferox cave to try to tame one. I started taming this 348 that I found, which that's an insane level, but you can tame the cave levels here. Hey little guy, that was a pretty crazy hit you just had. You want some more? So, the basic way you tame a Ferox is you get them highly addicted to methamphetamine. So you constantly just feed it to them, they transform, go into a rage mode, also known as getting a hit of methamphetamine, and then when they get out of it, you feed them more. And after enough drug abuse, they'll be tamed. So, Feroxes are known for this, but they have another trick. You see, they give around 225 insulation to your hypothermic insulation. And now, that's very useful for going to any places such as Jotunheim, the coldest area on the map, which happens to have one of the mini-bosses I need to fight. So now, usually, it takes forever to be able to go to Jotunheim because you need around 800 hypothermic insulation. But this is where the upgrade station comes in. You see, I can make a full set of fur and upgrade it enough to where I have enough insulation to enter Jotunheim safely. So day 43, I was just in the mountains looking for creatures that drop pelt, which I needed to make fur. When I tried to go to Jotunheim the first time, I only had 540 hypothermic. Not nearly enough. I almost froze to death like I accidentally flew into Murder Snow on Ragnarok. I killed all kinds of stuff throughout day 43. Abyss, Uties, Megatherium, Rhinos. I even went down to Mammoths. Anything that dropped enough pelt, I killed. And then I remembered something. There's things called reagents, which happen to have one that helps with cold insulation. But just one test for good measures in Jotunheim, and yep, still freezing. Anyways, I fought Hattie and Skull again because it was that time of day. Oh yeah, I haven't truly been mentioning how many alphas are on this map. You see, when Fjordur first came out, which I actually played it like 2 weeks after it came out, they had an almost full playthrough, which I released the first 10 days of. Alright, if you thought this was the full thing, you've been bamboozled, tricked even. So, what happened was they nerfed the alpha amounts at like a month in, but there were still so many alphas. This is the most alpha populated map in the game. So day 44, I was still getting a bunch of pelt, because the cold reagents still need pelt. I upgraded all of the fur to Mastercraft. I got so many cold reagents on the chest plate and the leggings because they have the most insulation, so they get the most increase. I put so much into this just to go to one area, and boom! I had 1,000 cold insulation, which should be more than enough. And now, bam, I'm going to fight Steinbjorn, the last of the mini-bosses. So, remember that 156 Volanosaur I tamed? You probably don't, because you have the attention span of a bull face, statistically. Not all of you do. But, that Volanosaur is my entire strategy for Steinbjorn, because everything else does reduce damage, but Volanosaur shot stone. And slowly but surely, his health was going down. I was going to fight him with Gigas, but none of the Gigas ever spawned, so I had to settle just on the Volanosaur. So, now that the mini-boss are out of the way, I can start focusing on the actual Guardians, starting out the Broodmother. But just look at this. It's negative 66 degrees and my guy's just cold. I have become a lore-accurate Canadian. Anyways, I found an alpha card now to kill, and I'm trying to get my chibi up to max level, which needs 2 million alpha XP. So, it's a grind set. I finally found this 156 UD. I tamed the UD and named him Georg. Maybe it's George? I don't know. It just sounded Nordic, so I named the name. Anyways, a Giga finally spawned, but it was a terrible level, so I killed it. Anyways, I took the UD on a leveling spree because it was underleveled right now. So I put in the stuff for the Beta Broodmother. Alright, I had to grind all this: Titanoboa Venom, Circo Skin, Sauropod Vertebrae, RG Talons, and then the Baylor Relic and 3 artifacts. So now I have the Broodmother down. Next up, the Megapithecus. But before I do that, I needed to grind some Megalania Toxin. Still no artifact of the Mount Doom Caverns, which I need that artifact soon. So, game, if you could spawn it, please do. Anyways, I crafted a tech bow and got a bunch of damage reagents on it to get its damage up to 200%. So now I have a better bow than my current compound one. And then, using damage reagents to my advantage, I made a cracked out shotgun. Anyways, I also needed Fenrisúlfr claws. And I also needed spinal sails. Anyways, I needed Titanoboa Venom, except Titanoboas are stupid with the amount of venom they drop. They drop it sometimes, but you can find them mostly on the Swamp Island. So finally, I just needed a Megalodon teeth, and Megalodons drop 4 teeth every time you kill one, so I just killed them on the rock tree. I also needed to grab Thylacoleo hook claws. And now, I was ready to fight the Megapithecus. So with the megapithecus out of the way, there's just one guardian left, the dragon. But again, I got some tributes to grab, so it's a few days of grinding. And I also stole a Deinonychus egg. Day 48, the 156 Deinonychus raised up. Oh yeah, I went to an unnamed cave, but it's just kind of an aberration cave. Day 49, and my Magnosaur wasn't in the mine this time. He was up in another metal area. The mines were completely depleted of metal. I also hung my current trophies on the wall. So I needed gigahearts for the dragon, and carts dropped gigahearts, and one spawned in the place of the giga. So I also needed 5 Basilosaurus blubber, so I went and got that on my Basilo. And then my Basilosaurus got ripped in half by a cloud of Megalodon. It was crazy how fast he got killed. He had around 7,000 health left when it was surrounded by them when I jumped off, and he died almost instantly after. So I made up some kibble, getting ready to tame another one. But my tech armor was broken, so before I did that, I took a little bit of a break to repair it. Once my tech armor was back, I went back to a 174 I had found, which I had fed the first kibble. He was kind of in the wall, so I had to go into Ghost to get him, because, well, I thought it was kind of stupid that he just went into the wall, and I still wanted to get a Vasilo. I wasn't gonna let a wall stop me, so... So now, the reason I wanted to get another Vasilo was because I was going back into the ocean to get Tuso tentacles. You see, Tusotethus, the giant squids, only spawn in the deepest depths, which Basilosaurus take damage in, but Basilosaurus are immune to their grab, so they're very good against Tusos. I got jumped by an Alpha Mosasaur off the bat, which I lured back to the top and bullied him until he died. I healed up and went back down looking for a Tuso. I found one, killed it, and then it turns out there was an alpha in the area and it was chasing me. Now my Basilo could not take on an alpha Tuso at this depth, so I had to run. So long story short, I managed to somehow escape, and my Basilo still has those Tuso tentacles, and I need to go back down and get them. So I plan on taming up some Megalodons, then I can go back down there. So I knocked out a few, and I'm getting a few up now. Day 52, and now I'm breeding the Megalodons to try to get some imprinted ones. Day 53, the Megalodons finished raising, so I went back into the Abyss of Depth to try to get my stuff. So finding the Basilo corpse was easy. It was still there. Getting to it was a little tougher, but this Mosasaur didn't even get jumped. He got straight up executed by my Megalodon gang. And just like that, I got out, no trouble. I made up some gunpowder for shotgun and shells, which I wanted to have during the dragon fight, because the dragon is the riskiest guardian to take on with Rexes, and that's my plan. I'm gonna Rex rush the dragon, except the twist is I'm actually gonna be behind him on a Deinonychus, getting in the damage, and the shotgun just helps. Day 53, and I forgot the Hadian Skull Relic, so I just had to go back and get it. So now that the dragon was out of the way, I was setting my sights on slowing it down a little and getting something else. A shadow mane. So my goal was to search for fish above 1.5. I quickly gave up and just searched for 1.0 or over. But if there was one thing I was absolutely doing, it was using saber-tooth salmon. They are the best fish for taming shadow manes. Day 55, I got some more metal. Then I watched it smelt. Day 56, I tried to gather fish using a strategy with a raft and it did not work out. Then I checked the snow cave for fish, and there were a bunch in here that were over 1.0, so I'd be using this place to gather some fish. And I'm using a better strategy of just placing a wooden cage over the fish to trap them in place and then trapping them in the basket. Day 57, I tried to tame this 168. These things are so annoying to tame, I hate them. Alright, I came so close. 57%, I used the sanguine elixir. And then, boom. I woke up before I could get to it. And, oh my god. So I killed the Shadow Man. I was so tired of that one. But then, there were no good levels in the area. The highest was a 114. So I decided I'm going all out on taming this cactus broth and gilly. And this 180 female it spawned in. And I swear, the Shadow Mane has 6 senses and one just attacks whenever I get close because it would always wake up right before I got to it. I finally fed it the first fish, and now the stressful part, getting the second one off. I managed to instantly tame it because of one simple trick, sanguine elixir. Instant 30% on anything, the Shadow Man was at 80, and then I fed it the elixir, and boom. And then I just needed a male, except the only male in the area was level 30, and I thought, okay, I'll just go with that. Day 59, I raised and leveled Shadow Mans. Day 60, I begun breeding my Rexes as well, so that I can hatch the eggs to get my Shadow Mans levels. The Shadow Mans that I had that were leveled, I put, like, kinda in the water and had them sleep, because they heal faster. Days kind of started to pass by of me just waiting for Shadow Manes to raise. Day 64, I raised even more Shadow Manes. Day 65, I got even more Shadow Manes raised up. I took a break from Shadow Mane raising to go to the Wyvern Trench to just steal every egg there, like level up every Shadow Manes. Now, I'm raising more Shadow Manes, but I promise that by the end of this, in a few days, all the Shadow Mane raising will be over, and I can move on to more interesting stuff. So, I soul trapped 11 Shadow Manes that I had to raise up. I had 12 imprinted ones, and 11 to raise. It was almost over. So, in the meantime, I just leveled up the remaining Shadow Manes that I had to. And something was wrong in the world when I saw an Alpha Basilisk. Turns out they are real, just not an aberration. Day 67, and I did the closest thing to base break you'll ever get. I made a tech wall. I ran the swamp cave on my Shadow Man because I wanted to fight the Gamma Broodmother to test out my Shadow Mans. I then ran the Mariana Caverns invisible on my Shadow Man. It was kind of stressful, but my stamina never ran out because of the hydrated buff that my Shadow Man had. But this day, I decided I would get back to raising all those Shadow Mans. But in the meantime, while waiting for the imprint timer, I went to the Molten Caverns to run the artifacts there. Day 68, and the Shadow Mains raised up, so all that was left was leveling them. I ran Drangerheimer for its artifact as well. And then I also ran the Labyrinth. Upon day the 69th, I went to Jotunheim to kill Steinbjorn because I was also fighting the Megapithecus, and I forgot to get the Steinbjorn relic. I tried just fighting him with my Shadow Mains, didn't work out, so I went onto the ledge and just used my Velosaur, same as before. And now I was fighting the game on Megapithecus, and then the Root Mother after. He was more than a pushover. And now, the Brood Mother was also really easy. On day 70, I started to make up some extraordinary kibble. Then, no joke, I'm not even looking for alphas, they're just everywhere on this map. At the end of day 70, I went into Jotunheim to look for Uteranus. I found a 168 male, which I wanted to tame up. The Uti finally finished taming on day 71. But I also wanted this 174 female that I found, so I tamed that as well. So now I had a breeding pair of Utis. Also, because I was there, I stole an Ice Wyvern egg. I hatched my Uti and spent the next while raising him. I did this through all of day 72. Day 73 I finished raising the Uti. Day 74, I went to the Forgotten Caverns to run the artifact. Again, a terrible cave, do not recommend. Again, another Alpha Basilisk. I thought they weren't real. And look at this, the artifact was finally in the Mount Doom Caverns. That's crazy. And I ran Frozen Fortress again. And finally, I just had to run the Bear Caverns again. And then, using my Rexes as distractions, I managed to get a Lightning Wyvern egg. Then, I also got a 210 Poison egg. Now, after this, I tried to solo the Gamma Dragon on a Bananist, and it went terrible. I tried to log out hoping I would save all my stuff, but nope, I lost all of it. So, now I have been smart and I stashed away all my soul traps. So, on day 76, I grabbed my fur armor, and, well, I decided I was just gonna fight Fenrisúlfr today and get off this map. But apparently I forgot that the tame limit wasn't 50, it was 20. So I tried to place down a few Rexes to go along with it, and then I realized it was 20, so then I cried off all the Rexes. So, now that I've beaten Fenrisúlfr, well, next stop, Genesis, Part 1, Volcanic.